Hello, my name is Ashley, and I'm a senior accessibility and usability consultant at AbilityNet. I'm neurodivergent, and I've spent the last decade actively contributing to the creation of assistive and educational technologies for neurodivergent individuals. I've had a particular goal to increase participation in society, working with organisations such as University College London, King's College, the Scottish Government, and now within AbilityNet. Through these projects and drawing upon my own lived experience, I acquired valuable insights into the art of adapting research and design practices to be more inclusive. Imagine if 1 in 7 people could not engage with your research and you didn't even know. You're not even aware of who you are excluding and the biases that exist in your data. Most likely, this is what's happening because 1 in 7 people are neurodivergent, and research is rarely designed with their needs in mind. Even if you have the best intentions as an organization to be inclusive, and you include diverse people in your research, without an inclusive research practice, you will not acquire the data that you need to make your products and services genuinely inclusive. And this is just really bad for business. So here are 3 things that I think you should be aware of when designing inclusive research. Let's start with Likert scales. Many of you will use Likert scales in your research. For example, on a scale of 1 to 5, how happy are you? In 2017, I interviewed several autistic people on their experience of taking part in research. I was told by several participants that research and survey questions are often designed in a way that means they cannot answer at all, or they cannot answer with their true and authentic experience. In essence, they feel quite limited. If you are presenting a question like, on a scale of 1 to 5, how happy are you? Well, what does 2 mean? And does 2 mean the same to you as it does to me? When asking people how happy they are with a product or service, what does happy mean? Happy could mean contented, overjoyed, ecstatic, or that they found it quite funny. In Tibetan Buddhism, there are 8 different types of happiness. So when designing response sections in your survey, here are a couple of things you can do. 1, label the numbers in a Likert scale so that it is clear what each number means. Secondly, provide an open box answer space for further comments so that participants can answer in a different way if they need to. My second tip is to use clear, unambiguous, and specific language. Questions asked during research can sound clear and concise to the researchers who have created them, but actually be ambiguous, vague, and very broad to participants. Participants may be unable to work out the information they have to provide, and therefore experience information overload and potentially disengage. Or they could provide so much information that a single question takes an unexpectedly long time to answer in an interview. For example, tell me about yourself. That could result in a participant revealing their entire life story or feeling overwhelmed by the question. In 2012, the autistic researcher Damien Milton coined a term called the double empathy problem, which states that autistic people can empathize with other autistics perfectly fine, and non-autistic people can empathize with each other completely fine. But the miscommunication happens when non-autistic people and autistic people try to interact together. I may believe that my questions are clear, unambiguous, and specific, but I process information differently to other neurodivergent groups. So if I run a survey past a few neurodivergent people, they might be able to spot a few places where my language is not clear or specific to them, or it feels ambiguous. This happens despite working in the research field for several years. I still miss these things. So third and finally, give people the tools that they need to express themselves. An interesting example of this is alexithymia. It's a condition that makes it difficult for people to be able to articulate their internal state using language. In ancient Greek, it means no word for emotions, and is prevalent for people who have experienced trauma and is seen in over half of the neurodivergent population. Therefore, asking questions such as, how are you? Or how did you feel about this thing? Will be unlikely to elicit accurate and authentic responses. When designing research to be accessible to these groups, here are a few things that you can do. 1. Allow for other mediums to communicate experience, such as art, asking participants to describe mental images, or even physical body sensations. 2. Do not ask people to describe their emotional state through a limited number of options. For example, does this make you feel happy or sad? And finally, give the participant additional time to process and respond to questions. So, to summarize, when designing research for neurodivergent users, you should provide extra context if you're using any Likert scale, use clear, unambiguous, and specific language, give people the range of tools that they need to express themselves. Well, I hope you found these tips useful and that you are prepared to make your research activities more inclusive, more useful, and therefore better for your business. Thank you so much for listening. Put disabled people at the heart of your project with user research. Learn about AbilityNet's user research service at abilitynet.org.uk/user-research.